Okay, I think we're on. I think we're here, Kelly.
Okay.
Yeah. Welcome, Kelly. Happy Friday.
Yes, excited.
We got
Friday,
our
April 1st.
happy. I don't think anybody's done an April Fool's joke today. I really like, I know, when I woke up, it was snowing and I was like, is this an April Fool's joke? But it was
Yeah,
actually snowing. So,
yes.
yeah. So, April 1st, isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
April 1st, we are moving into spring. I can hear the birds. We just got to get rid of the snow. So it's Friday, TGIF, and here we are. And isn't it great that we can, be in our cash civvies on Friday? Like that's about like designing it that way, right?
Exactly.
There
Yes.
were days where, you just, Friday and you're still in a suit. Do you remember those days?
Once upon a time, even the corporate world got with the program and allowed casual Fridays. But I'm dating myself now.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, me too. Remember, I'm older than you. So, um, yeah, so we've gone from suits to casual Fridays to
Yes.
doing it however we want to do it, working from home. And yeah. So thanks for joining me. I'm really excited to chat with you today because when we're talking about scaling from 6 to 7 or 8 figures, most of the time people think that's for entrepreneurs. Well, that's not for me. I'm in the corporate world. I don't have control over that. I can only go so far. All of those, thoughts and limitations come up. And so that's why I'm so excited to chat with you today, because you're just a great example of what's possible with this work and for corporate executives, sales professionals, anybody who's in that world. So before we get started, I just want you to introduce yourself. Tell everybody who you are, what you do, where you're going, and yeah, just tell us a little bit more about you and what brought you here.
Yeah. So my name's Kelly. I am a partner in a public accounting firm, and within my role, I actually am responsible for the firm's quality management and professional standards, which is a big mouthful, but it's something. I love the job. I love what I do, and how I get to help the partnership and the firm grow and whatnot. So that's who I am and what I do right now. And so Cheryl, you and I have been working together now for quite some time now, even for my previous job. And I think I am where I am now. I have this dream job that I've wanted for a long time now because of this work that I have done over the last, how many years has it been now, Cheryl, since we've worked together? 4 or 5 years, maybe?
I don't know if I don't think it's been that long. Maybe it feels like.
I think it has been, because I was at CPA Canada for 6 years and
Oh,
I've been here at this new role for 6 months now. So it's probably
okay.
been pretty close. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's been a journey. I think when I met you, you were senior principal.
I
Is that
just become a senior principal.
you
That's
just
right.
became a senior principal, and then you moved into a director role, and you had tremendous success in that role. There was a lot of growth in that role, and you managed to do some things that others had tried and
Not been able to, no,
not been able to
but
succeed with.
and I definitely attribute that to this work that I did. I had to grow a lot as a person, and it really came down to, and we talk a lot about this, but really came down to self-image. Of all of the things that I've worked on through this journey, self-image has been at the forefront of all of it. It's almost like your core. Self-image has been at my core, and I really had to do quite a bit of work on that, and that helped me make the leap from a principal to a senior principal, and then ultimately director. And even then, when I was there, I thought VP was possible, and I never thought that was possible either. But that really just came from within, and understanding that I am worthy and I am good enough and I am capable. And yeah, so that's really how that has all
Yeah,
come about in the last few
that is
years.
so neat. That is so, yeah, it's so cool because it's like each time you go to another level, the belief gets stronger and stronger, right? And, maybe people don't really even understand what self-image is. They may not, what is that? Like you change your hair, you change your nails, which you did.
Which I did, but that's just all my outward projection of who I feel like I am on the inside. So, my programming over the years, was always, you don't want to ruffle feathers, and you shouldn't be putting yourself out there, and just kind of stand in the background, and um, don't ask for things, just kind of, go status quo, that sort of thing, right? And I heard a lot about that over the years, and oh, you have a nice personality, and those kinds of things, right? And I really had to rewire all of that programming, and send a completely different message to myself. And it was a lot around, I am good enough, and I am worthy of this, and I deserve to be out there, and I have worth, and people want to hear what I have to say. And so, yeah, and it's like I said, it's at the forefront of everything that I do when it comes to, now I'm a partner at a firm. And, that was a dream that I had for so long, and I never thought possible, but now I know it's possible, and I'm here and I'm living it. So um, bigger and better things for myself in the future as well.
Yeah, and even just the confidence to be who you are, to not feel like you have to be someone else to please people or to get the promotion or things like that. Because I think that's another thing, right? You're just like, from the inside out, if I want to have fun with my hair, I'm going to have fun with my hair. If I want to have, bright nails, I'm going to have bright nails. If I
Exactly.
dress this way, this is how I'm going to dress. It doesn't change who I am, or the quality of my work, or the quality of my worth.
Yes, because I actually was speaking of those two things before. I would always go to the hair. Oh no, just be careful with it, this or that. And I would never do the bright orange nails or anything like that. Um, but I can be my true self, and not what someone expects me to be. I think
Yeah,
that's a really key thing too, is I am living my true self, and not someone else's version of who I should be.
that's
I'm
so,
confident that that is good enough, that that is actually really, that's okay.
yeah. And you've been really committed to the self-image work. And so with the self-image work, it's really about becoming the version of yourself that you imagine yourself to be, that you desire, right? And the characteristics, and the way, how does the person with my goal think? How does the person with my goal feel? How does the person with my goal act? And you've been committed to mastering this and really understanding it at a deeper level. And so because of that, what's happened for you?
Um, I think of the way I carry myself with more confidence. My like we talk about the income potential, and how, I always felt like it was limited, that it was outside of my control being in the corporate world. And I now know that that's not the case, that there's other streams of revenue out there for me, or I can move up in the corporate world and keep pushing myself forward. So my whole belief system about what's out there for me and what I'm capable of achieving has completely changed. How I project myself has completely changed. Sometimes I need you to remind me that I need to be that person now that I want to be in the future. So, the bracelet's a classic example. I had, wanted this bracelet, and I was thinking of the bracelet as a reward mechanism, or I'll, I'll get that when I achieve certain things. And
Yeah,
I needed to be reminded that no, I can be that person now.
yeah,
And so that made a big difference, and went and got that bracelet. And it's just, I just
yeah.
walk with, like, it's not just about the symbol of it. Sorry, it's not about the status of having it. It's about what it represents. And what it represents for me is I'm telling myself that I am worthy and I am able now, not I will be if I can achieve XYZ. I am good enough now, and just keep
Yeah.
growing and moving in that right direction.
That's amazing. I really love that, because you are. You are.
Yeah.
Why do we do all this if we can't enjoy it?
Exactly. Exactly.
I was talking about that in the workshop yesterday. I was like, my grandmother worked in a factory and went to work every day and came home and died with, $400,000 in the bank or whatever it was. Like, what's the point, if you can't enjoy life and and know what your worth is and claim it. So and that's the thing, right? As you start becoming more confident, as you start believing in yourself more, the possibilities do become endless, because you're not restricting yourself, you're not limiting yourself, you're not playing it safe, you're not playing it small. You're really stepping into your desires, and because you were able to do that, you were able to break the glass ceiling in financially, and start earning more, and start shifting your mindset to, like you said, what else is possible. Like, you're making more money, you're feeling more confident, you're continuing to break down the barriers that were, that for most of us limit us, because we all have more potential that we're not tapping into. But then, now it's like, sky's the limit, right?
Exactly. And I think about it in all contexts. Like, even just this morning, my husband said, we need to talk about, the spending or whatever have you. And I just said to him, I said, no, I said, we need to talk about what our plan is to generate more income, and, those kinds of things. So I do, I just live it every single day. And the more we do, the more, it just sort of takes off. And so, like I said, I thought my income was limited at in the low six figures too. And, the more you break free from all of that, the more you see the potential out there. And also now I feel like I can dream bigger. So my dream is 8 figures now. And when you can dream bigger and you allow yourself to do that, then you start to get really excited about it.
Yes.
So, those little raises are great, but when you can dream bigger, you get more excited. And the more excited you are, the more apt you are to stick with it and be consistent and allow yourself to grow, and you'll actually have better chance of achieving what you're dreaming.
Absolutely. Like, the more excited you get, that's where the quantum leaps start, because you're all in, right? You're just like, yeah, I'm connected. The desire is so strong within me. I know what's possible now, and I'm all in. I'm going for it. Nothing's going to stop me. But I just love what you just said about, the conversation with your husband this morning, because I'm just envisioning two accountants sitting down, having their morning coffee, talking about money.
Budget. He talks about outflow, and I talk about inflow.
Yeah. Oh, it's cutting out a bit.
Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, it's back. Yeah.
He's talking outflow, and which is the better way to go.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Think about the outflow.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's definitely like, okay, first of all, which one feels better?
Absolutely, the inflow. And that, by focusing on that, that's what you'll get more of, versus focusing on the outflow. Then that's just where the mental spiral comes into play.
Mm-hmm. So cool. So lots of cool things happening from a place of, confidence and, trajectory in terms of, professional growth, financial growth. What else? How else has this work impacted you?
Even just on a personal, I make decisions, how I live my life every day. I'm nowhere near as stressed as I used to be. I used to walk around with a lot of resentment and stress because I was obsessing over the past as opposed to living in the now. in the present. And just, yeah, I make decisions and that's it. And so life's so much easier when you live it that way. And then even on health has always also been a priority for me. And again, making decisions about how I'm going to stay focused on positive, making positive impact on my health. I fasted 3 times this past quarter. After this, for my first personal training session. So really excited about where that's going to take me as well.
I can really like feel it in your energy. Like, and I love what you said about it being easier, because I think this is a real problem. Like, I see it a lot with corporate women, the burnout, right? They feel like they have to work harder. They feel like they have to even work harder than men, to be successful. And then, they've got the families and other things in their lives that they're trying to juggle. And then they just end up burning out. So I love hearing about how it can be easier, right? It doesn't have to be hard. We make it hard. And
Yeah.
when we learn how to master this material and this work, we can learn how to shift that thinking.
Yeah, I was there. I was on the verge of burnout without question. And yeah, not the same, not the case anymore. Just it does. Also, what I've learned to appreciate is to focus on. You talk about working harder. What I'm focusing on, and we all hear the adage "work smarter, not harder," but I've figured out what that means. And again, I'm focusing on what my potential is, and so I delegate much more. That helps a lot. I have a good support structure. I recently hired a virtual assistant to take care of a lot of that sort of thing. So I can focus on what gets me excited and what matters to me, and that growth and that trajectory that I'm on in a personal and professional level.
Yeah, that's cool. Because it's just everything that we're talking about is just shifting the way we think about it. The minute we shift the way we think about something, we feel differently about it. And that moves us into a different form of action around it. And so it's so interesting to see how powerful that is, that, just by changing the way you think about something, you can get a completely different result. And that's what really this program is all about, is so it affects every area of your life, professionally, your career, your money, your health, your relationships. How's it impacted your relationships?
It's interesting. It's like I used to get really caught up in just conversations, or kind of I'd hit that wall all the time. And the way I have better conversations, I approach it from a different mindset, right? So I'm more curious. I'll ask more questions, and I'm not as quick to judgment, and I'm just calmer in general. And so in that sense, it's helped relationships quite a lot. And also I'm very intentional about maintaining relationships that matter to me, and connecting with people that share, that have the same energy as me as well. And so that's made a really big positive impact. I choose to let go of the relationships that have sort of dragged me down, and decide that, what, I'm going to focus on the relationships that matter to me, that share my energy and are going to help me as well continue to, again, move forward. So in a lot of ways, it's helped how I manage my relationships, but then the relationships I choose to nurture as well.
Oh, that's cool. Because you and I have worked together in so many different capacities. We worked together, when I was hired by your corporate, by CPA Canada. And then we went into lockdown, and you did some personal work with me, and one-on-one work with me. And then you joined my group my Thinking in Results program. So you've had, different experiences even within the coaching journey. So what can you tell us about that? The difference between, because you've had like a couple, the corporate sponsorship is a little different than when you're investing in yourself. right? Because
Yeah.
as you know, when we're working in a corporate sponsorship, we have accountability to the corporation and, you know, and the work that we're, you know, they've hired me to do. But when you're investing in yourself, like how can you talk about the difference between that and then also then just moving into a group environment?
Right. So when, the lockdown happened and the corporation was no longer going to be paying for it, I made the decision that I needed to continue or wanted to continue with our coaching relationship. And what shifted when that happened was really the focus, I guess, because, we talk about the accountabilities piece, but um, focused on, and that's really when sorry, am I okay? Internet wise?
Yeah,
Okay.
it cut out. So I
For a
lost you at
second.
I lost you at the focus shifted, and that's where
Okay.
the
Yeah.
focus.
So I focused more on that's when I shifted more of my focus on myself at that point and focused more on how important that self-image was. And so it's made a big difference for me. And then when I joined the group, what took it to the next level is the group itself. And again, talking about that like-mindedness of everyone in the group and that energy. So I was somebody who was in the group for, was it 6 or 9 months? I think it was. And then stepped 9 months and then stepped away from the group for a few months. And while I was doing pretty well, I would say, but um, I craved that energy again from the group. And so how have we coined the package? I have both personal one-on-one coaching and the group coaching.
Yeah.
I have it all and I love it because I get the benefit of the one-on-one where we can go really deep into something that's one-on-one.
You cut out again.
Oh, sorry. When we're one-on-one, I can go deep into something that is unique and specific to me. But then when we're in the group, I benefit from the energy of that whole group. And I
Yeah.
love that camaraderie with the group. I love, like we talk about the little competitions that kind of happen in some fun, in a very fun and light spirited way. But I love how I can complement both.
Yeah, I mean, that's the ideal package, isn't it? And it's funny because, you know, everybody knows, well, not everybody knows, but, you know, I'm always joking about bringing in the orange. I'm looking at our nails, right? Look at what you're for a second, right? We're bringing in the orange because the orange is the color of the sacral chakra, which is about money. So we're bringing in the orange, and I'm always talking about Hermes because it's like, orange, orange, orange. And then there's the Hermes has the Kelly bag.
Yes.
Right? Hermes has the Kelly bag. And so, yeah, the term has been coined, the Kelly combo.
Yes.
I want, and then people will call me and say, hey, can I have the Kelly combo?
I should own 10% of that now.
You should. When we trademark that, you'll get yours.
Yes.
And so, yeah, the Kelly combo is great because you're right. You're in the energy of the group, like-minded people supporting you, lifting you up, holding up the mirror to sometimes what you need to see, your blind spots that you can't see. Sometimes you can't see them in you, but you can see them in someone in the group. And then that helps you connect it to you, which is so powerful. And then, having the ability to go a little deeper one-on-one if needed. So it's the ideal if we could all do it and we have the time. But they being in the energy of people that are all on the same trajectory. The group is very diverse in the sense that it's 20s to 70s. It's entrepreneurs, corporate professionals, executives. There's a lot of diversity to the group. But there's the common thread, right? Everybody's ready for more growth and expansion. Everybody's open. Everybody's willing to go deeper, to see whatever it is that's blocking them from having it exactly the way they want. So being in that energy is invaluable. And
yeah,
I love that you were, open to doing that, because a lot of people get stuck in that, right? They get stuck in, no, I just want to, stay here. but you were open to it, and look how it's benefited you, and the friendships that you formed some amazing friendships.
Exactly. And even if some of them have moved on, building new friendships with other like-minded people in the group again. And yeah,
Mhm.
it's been pretty exceptional.
Mhm. And you get to support each other with your ideas. I could see some business partnerships coming out as well.
There are some people want real estate investment, and we have people who can help with real estate
Girl,
investment in the group, right? So
a lot of people that want real estate. There are a lot of people that want that passive income.
yes, exactly.
And I actually see that getting bigger, that part getting bigger. So lots of opportunity for collaboration. So what would you say to anyone who's thinking about doing this work?
I would say stop thinking and make a decision, and you won't regret it for sure. We talked a bit or the previous session about the return on investment, and when I think about what I've invested in the program, versus what I have gotten back, the return on investment is just what's the word I'm looking for? Like it's like there's no price on it. It's priceless.
Mhm.
In a way, both personally and then even, with I raised my income by 5 figures
Mhm.
last year, 4 figures, 5 figures, 5 figures. I'm an accountant, 5 figures, last year alone,
Yeah,
and sky's the limit.
yeah,
So, absolutely,
it's incredible. And what's incredible is you're just getting started.
exactly.
Like where you're going to be in 2 years, it's going to just be mind blowing. Like, especially like the people that used to work with you, when they see where you're going to be in 2 years, they're just like, how did she do it? What happened?
Exactly. Yeah,
It's,
exactly.
you're going to be such an inspiration for so many with what you're doing. And I know you're going to be putting yourself out there more as we get into the year.
Yes.
So you'll continue to inspire others to know that there's more for them as well. So
Mhm.
I really appreciate you sharing your story with everyone. And we're going to be following you and cheering you on, because I know really amazing things are coming for you, Kelly.
Yes.
You are a badass.
Badass foxy lady. I've
Badass
got
foxy
I've
lady.
got lots on the go for 2022, and some big things that I will happen in 2023, personally and professionally. So I'm really excited about those things
Yeah,
happening.
it's going to be amazing, and I'm so excited for you and the journey that lies ahead. So I hope you have an amazing weekend, and I really appreciate you joining us and sharing your story with everyone, because this is the inspiration, right? People need to hear from people that they can connect with, and your story is a powerful one. And I'm so grateful to be on the journey with you. And I'm celebrating you every step of the way.
Thank you.
So have a great weekend, and I will
Thanks.
see you on the other side.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.